Hi everyone, Bear from Bear Reads Books. Welcome back to my channel. Time for just an update, I guess, an April update. It's not Friday. Well, maybe it is when I publish it, I don't know, but it's just really an update to see how you're all going, make sure you're all safe and healthy, give you an update on what's going on in my life, what I've been reading, what I've finished. So kind of like a Friday Reads. We'll see how we go. I'm out here late in the afternoon and it's at this time of the day the birds go absolutely berserk. So you'll be hearing bird song all the way through this thing. Right above my head here is a kookaburra who, when he starts laughing, I'll try and capture him on video, and when he laughs you'll hear him. He'll be going off, I hope, sometime during this video. This has been a really busy reading week and I hope it's been productive for you too. Since the next round of the BookTube prize kicked off, I've really just got stuck in and started reading, and not just the pool books. I've started reading all sorts of different things. I've got lots of stuff on the go that I'm really enjoying. And on top of that, I've finished a bunch of stuff too. So it's not that I'm overtaxing myself, I'm getting through it. I'm really enjoying what I'm reading. So let's look at, first of all, what I've finished since the last time we spoke, which is probably a week or so ago since I gave you a last reading update. It's been a lot of BookTube prize stuff since then. But I've finished 3 books since the last time we spoke. So the first is a Mere Akana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And this was not a slow burn, but I thought there was so many moving parts at the beginning and it took me a little bit to getting used to it. But once I knew who the characters were and what their motivations were, this really took off for me. This was an amazing read. It had so many great things to say about migrant life and about the black experience and about racism and just about other cultures. And about other people's perceptions of other cultures. It was really very, very interesting. And it briefly tells the story of a woman who was raised in Nigeria, in Lagos, and she goes to America to study. So there's very lean times while she's a student, just trying to get enough money to survive, and then good times as she develops a blog talking about race in America as an outsider, as a non-American black person, is what her blog's all about. But leaving behind is her boyfriend, or the man that she has always loved. She feels it's not moving in the right direction or not fast enough, so she leaves him behind. And there's this hanging over her head the entire book almost. And he does his own thing. He believes he's been left behind, so he goes to London thinking that she will meet up with him, and it never happens. So it's got these relationship twists and turns which kind of run threads through the entire novel, and this complicated twist of this particular relationship and how it converges and drives itself apart over and over and over again throughout the book. It's really quite interesting. And you see the juxtaposition of life in the United States as opposed to life in the UK, as opposed to life in Nigeria, and what all that means, and the importance that people place on money and race and gender and job and all of that, and friendship. Really, there's so much in it, so much in it. And if you really just let yourself get involved in these people's lives, it's such a rewarding experience. I can't say enough about it, really. I'm getting out of the habit of doing a full book review for every single book I read, but this one almost deserves it. It's a big lump of a book, and it was such a glorious read. Really very, very, very good. I think I gave it 4 stars, and 5 was really just my own, the lack of that extra star is really just that, my confusion at the start, where there's just so much going on, so many characters in lots of different locations, and tying it all together just so I knew what was happening took me some time, whether that's my failing or not. And I don't put too much stock in star ratings anyway, but just for my own, 4 and 5 for me are stellar performances. Once you get down to 3, it was okay, and 2 and 1 are not worth wasting your time on, because I already did it for you. But yeah, this was 4 stars, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So again, that was Mere Akana. It's a 2013 book, so it's been around for a while, and if you think of all of the conversation that's happened around race in the United States and race in the UK since 2013, it's saying something really important, but really early in that conversation, because I think that conversation has really evolved a lot, what with Black Lives Matter and a whole stack of other stuff going on in both of those countries. I think this says a lot about race in both of those countries, England and in the United States, but it's saying it really early. It's such a good read. I can't say enough about it. The second one I finished was Kate Atkinson's Transcription. I think I mentioned this last time, and I think I was in the middle of reading or just about finished. I ripped through this. It was exactly what I wanted from a spy novel. It wasn't like an Andy McNab or a, I don't know, what's the Australian guy's name? It wasn't one of those, it wasn't one of those explosions every minute kind of spy novels where there's gunfire and everything going off. It's British, it's slow, the pacing is really, really good, and it builds suspense over time. And it's got some great, quirky, strange characters in there that really drag you into the story. So it basically tells the story of an 18-year-old girl called Juliet who starts working for MI5 as really just a typist in the typist pool. And she quickly gets dragged into other types of work because she's really switched on and really quite savvy. And the best of the best in MI5 recognise that and start dragging her into all these espionage projects. And she does that during the war, and then after the war she joins the BBC as a writer and producer, but she still finds that there's these strange figures that she keeps meeting and bumping into and that are trying to drag her back into that life. And it's that old adage that, you never leave the life of a Secret Service or an MI5 or a CIA. You never leave the life. It's always with you. And it very much is that. Whatever she tries to do, her life is intersecting all the time with all of this intrigue and espionage. It's really great. Really, really well done. It was super fun, but really subtle in its approach. Like it wasn't explosions and guns and fights, and it was quiet British espionage. People hiding around corners and invisible ink and bugs in rooms, and it was all that really cool sort of spy stuff that I really like. So that was Kate Atkinson's Transcription. Really great. The standout book that I finished, I think I gave Transcription 4 as well. The standout book that I finished this week is this. This Is How We Change the Ending by Vicky Wakefield. Now, it's an Australian book. It was nominated for the Stella Prize. Now, the winner of the Stella Prize has just been announced, and I'll maybe mention that in a separate video. But wow, this is a YA fiction novel. Now, I've kind of grown out of YA fiction. I was a big fan of YA fiction recently, and then I had a few bad experiences with some YA series, and then I just completely gave it away. Because this was on the Stella Prize list, I picked it up as something I thought was going to be a little bit more engaging, and I was so pleased, because this is one of my best books of the year so far. It's about a young man called Nate who lives in a derelict flat with his derelict family. They're absolutely broke ass, and they're horrible, horrible people, every single one of them. So he scrounges for food, he scrounges for money, he hates school, he's getting in fights, getting picked on. He goes to this youth group every night and stays out late so he doesn't have to deal with his drunk and abusive father. And it's so touching and sad. To give you to give you one little snapshot of the story of how Nate's trying to change his life. He's a really, really smart guy, and he knows some of his friends are also really intelligent, but they're stuck in this cycle of welfare and dependence and violence and poverty. But Nate can't even see the way out, and one of the best pictures of that in the entire story, and I'm just going to describe this for you. He's in school and they're paired up with a friend, and the task is to build a snakes and ladders game. And wherever you are in the world, I'm guessing you shoots and ladders, snakes and ladders. So you had to set the goal at the top of the snakes and ladders game. So think of a goal that you wanted to achieve. And young Nate, who's led a pretty awful life, his only goal was to find a job. And people would always ask, what kind of job? He said, I don't care, any job, I just want to leave. So that was his goal, to find a job. So he had to have all of the ladders leading up, were all the steps you needed to take and the decisions you needed to make in order to get to the top goal. And then all of the snakes were the pitfalls along the way, on the way to your goal. And that's a fair enough way to map out, you know, a bit of goal setting for a young man. And his partner did a really good job of it. And he designed this game, and it was all snakes. There was no ladders. And there was no writing on the board, so you crept along the board without knowing what the hell was going on until you hit a snake, and then you went back to the beginning. And people kept asking about his game, this is my life. And all he could say was, this is how my life works. I plod along, not knowing what the hell is happening to me, making no decisions whatsoever, and I just let stuff happen to me, and then I go back to the beginning. And it was so sad. such a sad thing for a child to have a grasp of doing. And that's one of the reasons why I absolutely fell in love with this book that is such a heartbreaking read. If you can find it wherever you are, this is How We Changed the Ending by Vicky Wakefield. Sensational book. It didn't win the Stella. Something in the non-fiction genre won the Stella. But fantastic book. I urge you, please, 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 to read it. Or if you have read it, please comment down below and let me know what you thought. To replace all the books that I've finished this week, I've picked up some new ones. So for the books that I've picked up and started this week, now that I've finished a couple, I've picked up 2 for the BookTube prize in the non-fiction section, hoping to get a reasonably fast start so I don't have too much to read right at the end. And they are Underland by Robert Macfarlane and Parkland by Dave Cullen. I do have Parkland here. I think I've shown it to you before. It is this, which tells the story of the children that were affected by the Parkland shooting and how they formed a movement around that event in order to help them deal with what was going on in their lives and what was going on in their town. I can't tell you anything more about that or how I feel about it so far. I'm about halfway through the book so far. Because it is a BookTube prize, I can't tell you anything more than just a little synopsis, but I've picked that up to read and I'm about halfway through. And I have also started Robert Macfarlane's Underland, which is also a BookTube prize, so I can't tell you anything about that. I can't tell you any impressions. Basically what that one is about is a non-fiction exploring everything under the ground, so the sublayer of insects and dirt and rocks, so caves and how the trees talk to each other. So there's a whole bunch of different subjects in the book, broken up into chapters, but generally it's Underland refers to everything under the ground. So I'll let you know more about that at the end of the judging period. Outside of the BookTube prize, I am also reading, and a few people have read this recently, for Aussie April, and I guess it's still April, so let's do Aussie April. But I've read a bunch of Stella Prize winners already this year. There's one right there that I just showed you. I've read Tara June Winch's The Yield. I think I've read another. I've got another one, a short story. So I've read tons of Australian fiction this year. But I've also picked up Mullumbimby by Melissa Lukashenko. Only a little way through, maybe 30 or 40 pages. And it's great so far. hoping to finish that before the end of April, as well as all this other stuff going on. So that's reading super busy. I hope you're all okay. Keep watching videos, keep reading books. It certainly helps me when the world is turning to crap, that just sink yourself into a book and it all starts to feel better. Let me know how you're going. I hope you're all well. It's going to get dark here very soon. The kookaburra decided not to sing for me this afternoon. He's still sitting right there in the tree, but he is quiet. So lots of bird noises, just not the beautiful kookaburra. Maybe next time. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.